Welcome to this video. Covering yet another game from the European Club Cup round 5 of the tournament. And this is the third game that I played. Yes, the third game that I played. I'm getting confused a bit here. The third game, and I had black again, and it was in the match of my Belgian team, Einappen against Schachfreunde Berlin, Chess Friends Berlin, and so I played a German player actually on board 5. It is a FIDE master, Christoph Nogly, same name as I have, just with slightly different spelling. He's rated 2280, and with black, I wanted to play for win, but not doing anything crazy. I hardly do anything crazy anyway. So let's see what happened. In the prep, I had seen that he always plays this. So I thought that this is a welcome chance to get some things in that I had analyzed for my book project. So bishop b4 check, and I saw that he always goes knight d2. Interesting. Normal move, more common move is bishop d2. Knight d2 is not bad, however. This move is certainly ambitious. White, if possible, wants to get the bishop pair. Normally, after my move c5, white goes a3, which is the ambitious way to play, and in fact this was also how he had played games before. I found some games in the database where he played a3 takes, queen takes. This is in a way the justification for black's play. It shouldn't be underestimated what black is doing. He is giving up his dark squared bishop, giving white the two bishops, and with c5 he has weakened the dark squares. The compensation is the lead in development. Black is getting a pretty substantial lead in development, especially considering that quite often white feels obliged to take with the queen on d4 now or in the next couple of moves. For example, after knight f3 b6, white very often will take with the queen, as knight takes bishop b7 is a bit embarrassing, needs to play f3. This is the reason. Black is very well developed, and this means that he has in a way compensation for giving up the bishop pair and weakening the dark squares. However, in our game, he didn't do that. He didn't play a3, he played d takes c5. This I also had looked at in my prep briefly, but really briefly, as I immediately had filed this under, okay, this is harmless, and if he does that, I will just play a game. Yeah, in fact, this is what happened. The next couple of moves are very logical. I took on c5, bishop g2, castles, knight f3, knight c6, castles. Yeah, here black has a fundamental choice. I can go b6, what I played, b6, or also d5. This is in fact also a good move. It is a move more in the spirit of the Queen's Gambit, as it leads to Queen's Gambit Tarrasch. It leads to an isolated queen pawn position. For example, something like that might happen. But this is a pretty decent IQP position for black. I have an active bishop here that gets some pressure going against f2, and white does not have much pressure on d5 at the moment. This is a decent position. However, I decided to go b6 for the simple reason that it is the, let's say, slightly more complicated move. It keeps more pieces on the board, and I'm not really a huge fan of those IQP positions. It's not, I don't mind them, but I rather play this with all the pieces on the board. He played a3, bishop to b7. and b4. Yes, this was something that I definitely like to see, just from the perspective of getting a complicated position. If he instead, if we go back for a moment, would have played something like b3, bishop b2, it feels very difficult for black to initiate active play. In the game continuation, it's not like, okay, I'm getting huge activity, this would be wrong, but here with a3, b4 played, I at least have a clear idea to attack his queen side and maybe get to a situation where I get some places, some good squares for my pieces. We see this pretty quickly. This is very logical. And I went a5. And this is what I was talking about. Here, he went b5. Yeah, I was thinking that bishop c3 is a decent alternative, by the way, but he went b5. Bishop c3 is, I think, about equal. b5 and rook back, knight back to b8. This is what I was hoping for when he went b4. This position is not better for black or something like that, but what it definitely is, it is somewhat unbalanced in a way. There is something non-symmetrical in the position. I have this c5 square, and I might get a knight to c5, a good spot. On the other hand, white has gained some space on the queen side, and he sometimes has ideas. If we imagine a position with d6 being played and the light squared bishop straighted, where he can get a knight to c6. So it is a position that is allowing some constructive play, where you can try something. It's not like, it's just sitting around. Queen d3 was played. I was surprised by this move, but it's not really bad. The idea is to go knight to g5 and threaten mate on h7 with bishop f6, queen h7 mate, and attack b7. So it's a sort of a tactical type of idea. I wasn't really sure. I mean, it was pretty clear to me that I can always play something like d5, something like that, to try to simplify matters here, and to probably draw the whole game. But I wanted to do something. I didn't want to play simplifying moves. So I went not d5, but I went, if we go back, I went g6. Yeah, this keeps pieces on the board, and also it feels a little bit, it is a little bit of a provocation. This move, it weakens the diagonal a bit, but okay, I mean, white does not have anything there, but I hope that he somehow feels provoked to do something. In fact, I think that the next couple of moves that he plays, that they don't help really. It is probably easiest now to just play moves like rook c1, rook d1. Something. Let's say this: rook d1, rook c1, d6, rook d1, queen c7. This type of position. I think it should be about equal, really. I enjoy this control over c5, but it's nothing great. Probably about equal. What he did is he got the same structure, but he lost time. He played the move, if we go back to g6, he played queen to d4, which I didn't expect at all. I mean, queen d4, really? You're wanting to mate me on g7? Yeah, that's not going to happen. It mostly loses time, this move. I went to d6, knight g5, takes, and knight b to d7. An interesting position. Went rook d1. We are still talking about something that is roughly equal, I think. Rook d1. The next move is interesting. It might be surprising to some viewers here, but it is fairly typical, I would say. I went e5 now. I think this is a good move. It might look strange to some people, but it is a good move. Why? The point is that in this position, we have pawns on d6 and on c4. Those pawns are in half open files. The question is, which pawn is really weaker? I think that the c4 pawn is the weaker pawn in this structure. I can attack it on the c file. Well, it's difficult for white to attack my d6 pawn. e5 wins the tempo, and very importantly, it closes the diagonal of the bishop. White is basically here settled with the bishop on b2. That's not doing very much. It looks at the well-protected e5 pawn. And yeah, it's hard to find a plan for white. However, he's not really worse in this position. What he did now is, and this is I think where it comes to getting him into trouble. He went to queen d3. It's still okay. It's not great, but it's still okay. I went here, and now I think he makes a mistake. He plays the move queen c2, which I think misplaces the queen. Better is queen f3, definitely. Queen f3 looks at those critical light squares and maybe allows a timely knight jump to e4, one of the two knights. After that, it might continue like that. Queen d7, knight e4, takes, and queen e6. This is what I was talking about. I'm attacking this pawn, and while my bad pawn on d6 is protected by the bishop, his bishop is not functioning at all in this position. It only looks at a very protected pawn on e5, while his pawn is weak. However, there's nothing terrible happening. White can take and initiate a counterplay. Yeah, something like that. White has a very substantial compensation for the pawn. It's even questionable if this is a good idea for black being that materialistic. I have alternatives along the way though. For example, I can, instead of queen e6, if we go back here, instead of queen e6, I can also take on e4 and now double against the pawn like this. Yeah, that's also interesting. Or also this move might be an option. After the trade, he has a hard time to protect this. It's a funny positional situation. I have a bad bishop, but I'm covering all my weaknesses while c4 is not defensible. It's not that clear, however. He can jettison a pawn and continue. Complicated stuff. But queen f3, if we go back, queen f3 is what he should have done. He went not here, he went to c2. Yeah, now I have queen c7. The problem is here, his knights now are on unlucky spots. He does not have sufficient control anymore over e4. If you think about a move like knight e4 now, I set up this very awkward pin. So that means he does lose control over the e4 square. He went rook c1. I gave the check. It went back with the king. Yeah, and now we see that I control the e4 square, which is a very nice thing to do. My further plan is simple. I started with rook c7. What I'm doing with rook c7 is playing this little annoying improvement move that passes the right to move to white and asks white, okay, hey, you're the one with the weakness on c4, what are you doing? It's not that easy to play this position, but still, of course, white is not in a huge trouble. What he probably should have done is something like a4. Yeah, intending the bishop, placing the bishop on a3 to exchange it or get some play against d6. After that, I think it's still okay for white. I can do something like that, for example, something like that, or instead of h6, I also could have thought about other options. I think probably rook c8 also comes into consideration. It's a very complicated position. I would have liked black here, but it's nothing super great. However, here something surprising happened. My opponent already in slight time pressure, and he didn't really like the position. It was very visible that he felt uncomfortable. He went for the move f3. Yeah, and this is really a first class blunder. Surprising blunder, because the answer is very obvious actually. I didn't take long and just went knight g4, and this is really a big problem now. Yeah, the bishop is attacking the knight, and I'm threatening this jump with a huge fork, and this is really bad for white. If we look at this, if he takes g4, I grab here, and now we see that this bishop all of a sudden is turning into a fantastic piece here. Yeah, I'm threatening bishop e3 all of a sudden, and also from a positional point of view, I'm threatening to take on d2. Yeah, let's say he plays rook f3 to cover the check on e3. Black can just take it and place the knight on e4. And this is just the dream. Yeah, the knight on e4 is on a light square. He has no piece anymore that can contest this knight. And I still have the pressure against c4. Now the e4 knight is also covering my weakness. So a fantastic position. Yeah, something like this, let's say, and rook c8, and white has a hard time to keep his position together. Fantastic. Yeah, so this he really needed to avoid at all costs. So he decided to not take, but to drop back, which is basically giving up the exchange. But this is still better than the other position, which is really losing. I went to e3, and he took on c5. Yeah, here I saw a way to change the position, but in my favor. I took on c5, and he went queen d3. Here's an important moment. Probably queen e4 was a more interesting try because of one thing. Yeah, of course, my queen on b7 is hanging, so I cannot take f1. But it's very important to notice, if I take and he takes, that in this position here, I definitely should not take on c4. Rook takes c4 at first looks like it's like instantly winning. The rook hanging on f1. If white takes, knight takes, I'm winning. b2 hangs, d5 is coming, a terrible position. But in this position, he has the fantastic move, king f2. And all of a sudden, this isn't great. It's really funny. Yeah, black here really has no great move. It's a very weird situation. It is much better, instead of taking on c4, to just drop the rook back. And this again is clearly better for black. Yeah, I'm attacking the rook and attacking c4. So I will win material. He went not here, he went to d3. Yeah, and here I just took the rook. Why not? It's an exchange, and should win the game definitely. He went to e4. Knight takes e4. Yeah, and here, yeah, I wasn't totally sure what's best, but I actually like my solution, to be honest. At the moment I'm a rook up even, but okay, the exchange is hanging, my knight is trapped. I saw a way to change the position, but in a way that hugely favors me. The materialistic solution was just to retreat here, yeah, like this, yeah, here, and queen c8, intending to take. And white is busted here, really. I can do that as well, but I think my solution is also nice. After this knight e4, I took on I took on g3 as a desperado, just taking a pawn. He recaptured with the pawn. What else? And now I went d5. And this is just a good transformation. It attacks the knight and basically forces the knight to take. After cd5, rook d5, yeah, I'm exchanged pawn up, everything up. So he needs to take. So I return the exchange. I take with a check, very important. He moves the king. And now the move d4. This is what I had calculated when I was giving back the exchange. And once I saw this position, I pretty quickly went for it because it is a very clean solution to win the game. Black now is a pawn up. I have the space advantage at extra pawn in the center and the battered bishop. And I have a clear plan of attack, f5, e4. And this steamroller should win the game. Yeah, and in fact, this is what happened. Rook h1, f5, bishop c1, e4. White really has no way to defend the position. You can argue that I didn't play the best possible way, but it always kept a winning edge. Rook d8, intending d3. Attacked the rook. I went up. Queen a1. Yeah, this felt slightly annoying. Yeah, I didn't want a piece coming into f6. Yeah, like this. It's probably still winning, but I didn't want that. So I covered, instead of this, I covered the 6th rank. He went rook d1, queen d7, still preparing d3, bishop f4, rook e6, king f1. Yeah, and around here I was thinking, okay, there should be some direct win. So I pushed d3, and he took on e4. Yeah, this was maybe a bit more tenacious. One point being that the move bishop d4 is answered by this. Quite embarrassing. So I wouldn't have done that, but I can take here. Intending rook e2 after d4, bishop d6. Black is also winning. I'm just invading here with a decisive attack. Still, maybe it was a bit tougher. He took, not here, but on e4. Yeah, now I made a mistake, definitely. It was easier now to just recapture on e4, because I'm opening up this diagonal immediately for my queen, intending to move the rook and queen h3. This was the easier solution. I took on e2, takes, rook takes, king f1, because I just thought, okay, there must be a win, right? There must be a win. It is winning, but the other continuation was simpler. Queen e6 and rook d5. And here all of a sudden it turned out, maybe this isn't so easy. But then I found a way that wins. It seems that there's more than one way, but I found one way that does the trick. I went g5. Rook e2 also seems to win. g5. He went here. Yeah, the more interesting move was the capture, of course. Then c4 was my idea, intending queen h3 mate. That can only be answered by g4. Note that if he gives a check, I just go here and that's it. He does not have a follow-up check. It's very important. And I'm threatening this mate and also on c4. Once the rook leaves d5, there is this dual threat. Yeah, he only has g4. This was the line. And now black can play simply f3. Yeah, intending rook e2. And I didn't find anything remotely playable for white. I think that this was a pretty convincing way to do it. He cannot move the rook. That's very important. If he moves the rook somewhere like here, I do this and it's mate. Yeah, so even a check is just a check. After that, I'm threatening checkmate on c4. And he has no check, no tempo move to continue the whole thing. So this is what I was calculating, and fortunately I was right with this. After g5, he however went bishop to c7. And this is maybe even somewhat easier. Now I have queen h6. intending queen h1 mate, oops, or queen h3 mate for that matter, both are made. Gave the check and check. I went to e6 and that's it. There are no meaningful checks. I can take the pieces easily that can give a check on e5 or d6 or e7. So he has no way to prevent queen h1 mate or queen h3 mate. Yeah, so this was the second win in this tournament that I scored again with black. Yeah, I was quite satisfied with the game. It took me a while to finish this off. I mean, this calculation with g5 took me a while, and I would have liked to see this a bit quicker. But okay, a win is a win is a win. And if you check it with the engine, it does not really improve on it very much. It always gives me a winning edge. So yeah, I was satisfied with this. If we recap the whole thing quickly, we got an interesting structure from the opening, and I think this is the kind of structure that is very welcome if you want to play for a win. It's non-symmetrical and there is some tension in it. Yeah, it turned out that he made some small inaccuracies with this queen maneuvers. He lost some time like this with queen d3. Yeah, this is really losing time. And I got control over the important e4 square here. Of course, he helped me enormously by going f3. Yeah, if he does not do that, it's an entirely different thing. It's by the way, I think the move like rook c7 is maybe something that is sometimes not appreciated by people. It's not like a super strong move, I'm not saying that, but sometimes it's better to do those little improving moves and not play so forcing, like h6 for example, pushing the knight back, which would not be really bad, but it makes life easy for white in a way. He goes to f3 and that's it. After rook c7 you really ask white, okay, what are you doing? Find a move. And I'm not saying that I tempted him into playing f3, but if I would have forced h6 knight f3, it wouldn't have happened. It's just sometimes good to just let's say yeah, let him think about a move, a plan, and just not play that forcing chess. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the coverage for this game. Thanks for watching.